Welcome to the Behind the Shield podcast. As always, my name's James Gearing, and this week it is my absolute honor to welcome on the show Wayne and Regina Smith. Now, I know Wayne and Regina from Iron Legion Strength and Combat, where we've trained together for over 10 years. Wayne has been in corrections for almost 30 years, is a law enforcement instructor, defensive tactics instructor, and a member of a special team. Regina has been in correction for over 22 years, is a sergeant for Marion County Sheriff's Office and a captain for the Florida Department of Corrections. As you can imagine, the dynamic not only of their experience, but being in corrections as a married couple, this was an incredible conversation. We discuss a host of topics, from their journeys into corrections, some of the immense challenges for our correctional officers, breaking the recidivism in Florida prisons, gangs, addiction, mentorship, the importance of fitness, and so much more. Now, before we get to this incredible conversation, as I say every week, please just take a moment. Go to whichever app you listen to this on, subscribe to the show, leave feedback, and leave a rating. Every single 5-star rating truly does elevate this podcast, therefore making it easier for others to find. And this is a free library of over 1,200 episodes now. So all I ask in return is that you help share these incredible men and women's stories so I can get them to every single person on planet Earth who needs to hear them. So with that being said, I introduce to you Wayne and Regina Smith. Enjoy. Wayne and Regina, I want to start by saying thank you for coming to the house. I know this has been a long time coming. I think it's literally in years that we've tried to get this going. So I want to firstly welcome you to my home. So for people listening, obviously, as I was saying before we hit record, when people are in law enforcement and corrections, there's some areas obviously that we don't want to just put out there. But for people listening, where roughly would they be finding you if you were at home, like as far as where in the country?
I guess you could say in Ocala, just outside of Ocala. Regina be right in Ocala as far as the city goes. But we're outside, where I work at is outside of Ocala in a small area called Lowell, Florida. Yeah, and we have exactly 3 institutions out there, 2 female institutions and a male institution in that area. And we also have a juvenile, I just thought about a juvenile institution in that area.
Well, again, being mindful of not going too deep, I'll ask you the kind of background questions just so that people kind of an understanding of, the journey that you came through. So starting with you, Wayne, tell me where you were born and tell me a little bit tell me where you were born and tell me a little bit about your family dynamic, what your parents did, how many siblings.
Okay. I was born in Gainesville, Florida, but I was raised in a small town called Archer, Florida, which is like maybe 15 minutes outside of Gainesville. I was raised with my brother, who's 4 years younger than I am, my mother and father. My father worked for the VA hospital in Gainesville. He was a custodian there. And my mom worked for the University of Florida at Shands, and she was head of housekeeping in that area. So both of them kind of work in the custodial type field as I grew up. Other than that, it was just always just me and my brother. And then my parents, until my parents divorced, but we was adult by the time they divorced. They didn't divorce when we were kids. So we had a full childhood with them. Yeah.
I think our custodians in the hospitals are the true unsung heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Being definitely a paramedic and you guys seeing what happens in the jail too. Yeah. Talk to me about some of the stories you heard from your parents and this kind of highlight, how important they are in that system.
Well, just most of the stories, people, sometimes they complain about how their areas are clean, but they don't understand how hard it is to get certain people in those areas. A lot of times, my mom, she started out like doing a lot of the cleaning. She was a regular custodian. Then she worked her way up into be a supervisor in the department. And my dad, he was just one of them types. He didn't care. He just went to work, and then he did his side jobs. He did a lot of floors and stuff outside of his regular job. So he did like cleaning work. He worked for the post office. He had 3 different post offices that he worked for, that he cleaned up for them also. So he worked all the time. They never really talked about issues other than people complaining at the wrong time or just asking for outrageous stuff for them to get done, and they don't have the means to get it done, or they're not even paying for them to even do these jobs, but they always asking them to do it. So that was like the biggest issue with them.
Was your home immaculate, or were they so sick of cleaning that it wasn't tidy?
No, honestly, every weekend everybody had a job. Every weekend you got up, got dressed, and got out the house because mom was going to clean the house. She cleaned a lot because my dad smoked, so a lot of times he smoked in the house. So a lot of times she liked to air the house out every week. She grew plants and stuff. There were certain plants that she grew that they were basically made, they could soak up a lot of the toxins and stuff from smoke, because she wanted to make sure we didn't catch cancer from him smoking in the house all the time. So every week she would open up all the doors, did a house cleaning. But we had to get out and we did something in the yard between mowing the lawn, raking, or we didn't go work in the fields with the other parts of our family, because we had a lot of family that actually did field work a lot, loading watermelons, picking tobacco, picking peanuts, all that kind of stuff throughout the season. So we always had a job every weekend. It wasn't no just sitting up watching cartoons all day. We had to get up and go.
That is hard work too. I grew up on a farm, and we didn't have like crops, so per se. So it was more like stones. We pick up stones so that they could grow more stuff. But lambing and all that stuff. But I think that kind of work, I don't think people realize how hard it is.
Yes. I hated tobacco. It was the worst. I would rather do watermelons all year round.
They're pretty easy to see.
That tobacco it itch your skin, and it just didn't like picking it every year. But other than that, it was just hot work. That's all it was. Yeah.
And what were you playing and doing as far as sport and exercise when you were in the school ages?
I played football, basketball, and ran track every year. I did a lot of that just so I didn't have to go home a lot of times. Because I know if I went home, it was something I was going to have to do. I loved playing football, and I loved playing football, and I ran track. But I played basketball just to fill up that section in between football and track. So I did that every year. I played all the way from elementary school all the way through high school. I went to play college ball, but got homesick, came back, which was kind of silly, but I was very far away at that time.
Whereabouts?
Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah. Bethel College, Kansas. And I really didn't stay long. I was just like out of there. Played semi-pro for a year, and then ever since then I was just like working.
What position in football?
In high school, I played fullback and linebacker. When I went to college, they were gonna move me to cornerback because I wasn't big enough for linebacker. But I was gonna play cornerback, and the semi-pro I played cornerback, and in that field. I played some running back through high school, which is we get the ball more, but fullback most of the time. Yeah.
Well, Regina, before we move forward in Wayne's kind of career progression, let's start with you. So tell me where you were born. Tell me a little about your family dynamic, what your parents did, how many siblings.
I grew up in Reddick, Florida, Lowell. My mom and my father. My father was more of the breadwinner. He was a carpenter at Gainesville School Board, and he was there for 36 years. My mom was more of a housekeeper for doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. So my father was more the breadwinner. It was 9 of us, but I only grew up with 2 sisters and a brother. So it was really 4 of us out of the 9 of us that really grew up together. So
is that because of age or just kind of families moving apart?
Just families moving apart.
Okay, gotcha. What were you playing as far as sports and exercise back then?
I wasn't really big on sports growing up in school.
So what did you do? Were you a musician, artist? What was your outlet?
Just trying to get through school. That's it. And get out of it. That was it.
I understand. All right. Well, let's stay with you then. So when you were in the school ages, were you dreaming of corrections or was there something else?
Not at all. Never in my life would I have thought, to even go into correction. I have no family in law enforcement. It was not even a thought process. I was thinking more of nursing or something like that as I grew up, but it didn't work out that way. So now I'm in corrections.
So how did you find yourself in there? Where did you go when you graduated? Was it straight into corrections or was it something else first?
No, I tried nursing first, CNA. Then it didn't work out too well. Then I got pregnant and I was like, you know what? I got to choose something that I like that's more of me. And I chose corrections.
Okay. Well, Wayne, let's catch you up then. So you do semi-pro ball. You're not a fan of, Toto and Dorothy in Kansas. So you come back here. How did you find yourself into the world of corrections?
I was working like 3 jobs. I worked at Publix, TJ Maxx, and then I was like doing a lot of side jobs. And my brother, he worked in corrections first, and he wanted me to do it, but I didn't want to do corrections at all. That was like the last thing on my mind. But at the time, my aunt actually made me sign up for corrections. She brought me an application to my job at TJ Maxx. She said, I'm tired of you working 3 jobs, killing yourself. You could get all the money that you make in these 3 jobs at this one place. You got 3 days to fill this application out. You better call me in 3 days, and it better be in. If it's not, I'm going to kick your ass.
Sounds like she should have been in corrections.
And my aunt is like all of 5'2" or whatever. Loved her to death because she's always been like a second mom to me, past my mom. So I got it in. I put the application in, and once I got it in, finally, got the job and everything. Almost quit the first week, but that's what got me into correction. Yes.
So that was what I was going to ask. So staying with you, not having any history, and I'd never been a firefighter, so I kind of went in blind as well. When you first went through the front door, what, if any, were the misconceptions of the job? And then let's stay with what you just said. What made you almost tap out after a week?
Well, I don't even think it was a full week. Like the first day, I almost quit. After doing the whole process and everything, and finally actually walked on the actual compound, it was almost overwhelming because, growing up and stuff like that, you hear about, how many people of my color end up in prison. And then to actually see it firsthand, like almost took me out because I didn't really understand until I saw it. And just walking around and seeing the number of men, black men that was in there, just almost was overwhelming at the time. So it took me a little bit of soul searching to the point of their story is not my story because I'm here for a reason. Mm-hmm. They were here because of their reason, and I'm here for another reason, which is a lot more important than worrying about the dynamics of who is in there. It's the fact of what I was doing it for. So that was like the biggest thing I had to overcome in the beginning. It's just the dynamics of just walking and seeing 200, 300, 400 black men just in blues walking around, and they're not going home like right now. Mm-hmm. So that was like the biggest issue that I had to overcome working there.
Back then, because how many years ago was that? You got several
29
decades.
years.
Yeah. So back then, first impression, what were you thinking or what were you told was the reason behind the disproportionate number of African Americans being in there?
Just, the rumors that they have, or they're picked on, or you what's the word I'm looking for? How you just get picked out just because of your color of your skin. Prejudice and stuff like that. So then to see it, it was like, oh, it must be something to that. It has to be, because there's no reason why this many should be in there. But after a while, you start learning, you start going through what they're in there for. And then sometimes you just look, you need to be in here. There's no reason for you to be walking on the street. Mm-hmm. There are some you was like, okay, that probably would have been much, but that was like the biggest thing. You hear that, you got picked out just because of the color of your skin. That's how you ended up, or somebody set you up, or they didn't even listen to what your defense said. It just wasn't what the original said. So I think that was the biggest thing that hit me first when I got there. So I was like, well, okay, it must have been something to that. So why am I trying to get into this? So that was the biggest thing I had to get past first walking in the door.
Regina, first impressions when you first started?
Not really, it was more of seeing so many females, because I never really worked at another unit besides females until I got to the jail. So it was just like overwhelming. It was like, they look at us as nice and gentle, the females, they can do no wrong. And I, going to a prison where I started at, you're like, oh, okay. And then listening to some of the, crimes and stuff that they've done and broke, and I was like, oh, they really need to think differently about, the females and stuff like that. But, it was just seeing the crazy numbers of females, and dealing with them. And it's like, okay, I got to stay focused. But, it was I guess just part of life, how they were raised, what type of men they deal with. So it's just dealing with that.
Just before we progress forward, because I think this confuses a lot of people, can you give us the differences between the jail, a state prison, a federal prison, etc.? It's kind of what the tiers are.
The look at the differences, when you look at a jail or a detention deputy, they're dealing with people that have been charged, but they're not have been convicted. So the jail is just free people waiting to get a sentence basically, because either they're going to get bailed out or they're going to have to stay. And sometimes they end up with a sentence that they could do at the jail, but for the most part they're just waiting. When you get to the state prison, they've been convicted. They've been given a sentence, a release date, or maybe not even they receive a release date. This is where they're actually going to do their time. Federal prison is the same thing, but most of the ones in the feds are there for federal charges. They're not there just for robbing the corner store just the other way. They're in there for robbing the corner bank.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So there's a difference, or certain charges. Yeah, certain charges. Or they get federal charges from drug related stuff. And so those are the differences.
When I look back at the TV show Cops back in the day, and they have those massive chases, vehicle pursuits, and then there's a foot pursuit, and then they tackle them, there's a big fight, and then they find a baggie of weed. Now, fast forward to today, a lot of our professions are realizing that's actually very helpful for a lot of things. Were there groups of people in there back then that today, if charged, wouldn't be in there anymore because of the way that we've kind of progressed viewing prohibition?
I'm pretty sure there's a lot that probably wouldn't be. There are a few that, because of the amount that they had, was still causing them to be in there. But you have to look at the differences between personal use and distribution. If you're not distributing it and you have a certain amount, it's not just for personal use. So now you don't went past how the guidelines are going. But back then, any little thing of weed could get you put in jail or prison. But now, if you have a card or a certain amount, they'll just overlook it just a little bit. You might have to come in for some other reason, see court or whatever. But it's not the automatic. You could go to prison behind it. That's a big step. I mean, a huge difference from then to now. You still have people get in trouble in reference to it, but not so much as back then.
Have you seen the documentary 13th by Ava DuVernay?
I don't think so.
It's basically, it's a really interesting documentary. It's showing how, back in the day, because the kind of foundation of drug prohibition came right after the epic failure of alcohol prohibitions. Yeah. And so the reefer madness and all that stuff and loitering, and the kind of the story is basically telling that you had this one that went away, and then when that was put in, what was slavery is now within the four walls, and that now manpower is being used by people who are incarcerated, and there's even the private prisons, and again, where is that that line between someone has done something wrong and they need to be behind bars, and well, we need more people to fill the prisons because we need people to, be working these certain areas. And I thought it was a very interesting thing. And she's obviously storytelling the fact that, again, a lot of minorities are being targeted. But what are the checks and balances between some of these industries in these prisons, and lowering recidivism, like trying to, actually address a number of people we have behind bars?
Well, the thing that they're having now that has really been pushed the heaviest is reentry. Trying to keep people from coming back, because a lot of ones that are in prison are ones that are coming back to prison, not the fact that them going into prison. Some of them, they get out and they go right back.
They go right back.
Because they haven't picked up no trade or they haven't learned anything while they was in prison. So they went to working more on reentry to teach them to not go out and do what they did in the beginning, so they won't come back. So that's one of the biggest things that they've been working on more volunteers being able to come in and talk to them, help them through things, help them to have an outlet when they get out, not just getting out and now I'm going back and hanging out the same boys that got me in there in the first place. So those are a lot of things that they're picking up like real heavy right now. It's like reentry and changing their lifestyles in prison has been a big thing that they've changed with the prison system right now.
I think we have the highest level of recidivism in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And I had the superintendent of Bastøy prison in Norway, who has the lowest recidivism in the world. And it was interesting because I think we call what we do the Philadelphia model, if I've got that right. And for example, this one prison is on an island outside Oslo. There are everything from petty crime through to murderers on there. And they live in basically like this. They live in the housing development.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. And so they cook, they clean for themselves, they live together, they go to school, they go to work, and it's exactly what you're saying. The Norwegian philosophy is 95% of prisoners are going to move back into your street one day. So why don't we take this time that we have them and give them a skill set and get them to break away maybe from the group that they were with before, so that when they move back, they're already, I think there's even like work programs and that kind of thing. And I don't understand if there's places around the world that are doing things that are working, why we don't look, stronger at them. And I know the Northwest, some of the prisons up there have already started doing that. But
even here, we have, like I said, we have the reentry program, and then we have, like a lot of officers call it a cupcake camp. Ones that actually they're in prison, but they've been doing the right things in prison. So there are certain prisons where a lot of the rules that are the harder prisons aren't implied at that prison. So they have a little more freedom to what the stuff they do. They're not allowed to actually leave the institution unless they're on a work squad or something like that. But they're allowed to do more stuff like we call free world stuff. They're able to go in and out dormitories pretty much when they want to. They have some areas where they actually have game rooms where they can actually play games and stuff. Video games, not just card games, video games. Able to sit and watch movies and stuff that are playing on TV. So they're trying to soften it a little bit more so they're not so hard when they actually do get out. You know what I'm saying? So they're able to actually see a lot of the stuff that is going on. And you was talking about the free labor and stuff like that. They've gotten away from that tremendously. They do have what we call work squads that do go out and help, like with road work and stuff like that, help maintenance of certain areas, which is good. A lot of people look at it as slave labor, but a lot of times it's good for them just to get out. A lot of them really enjoy getting out. It's hard having to sit in between those fences all day, every day. To have the opportunity to go out and be able to see the free world, even though you're still convicted or in prison, just to have that time outside of the fence, a lot of people don't understand how much that helps them. That helps their time go by a lot faster. There's not so much working in industry stuff like they do anymore. Most of it is like road work and stuff that helps the community. Like when you have storms and stuff, you don't have enough work crews to take care of a lot of that stuff. So you have a lot of those guys that's in prison that want to come out and help because a lot of them are from the area. So why wouldn't they want to come out to help clean up, try to help their families that got to come through these areas. So a lot of people don't look at it that way. It's not the fact of just free labor. A lot of times it just helps them, helps keep their mind a little bit based on what they could get back to, not just the fact that them having to do their time. If that makes sense. That's what a lot of that entails now. Like now, at the female institution I'm at right now, we don't even send a work squad out anymore. Which a lot of those females, they actually like going out, being able to be outside of the fence, go clean up and stuff like that, and work their time that way. But their time seems like they go a little bit longer when they sit inside that fence, besides going outside the fence.
Well, I think that's different. Obviously, you've got these companies that almost had like assembly lines in prisons, and that's one separate thing. But yeah, I think you've committed a crime against your community. You get to go and be a part of the solution in your community. I think that's phenomenal. Yeah, and that's very different than the chain gangs in Arizona where they're humiliating them, and that's not fixing anything.
No. But I think the dynamic of those areas, I don't know how they figure their system goes. It just I think ours is progressing a lot faster than a lot of other areas, because we have other states come to our state just to kind of see how we're doing a lot of stuff, so they could implement it more in their area, because they're working off a lot of stuff that we've stopped doing years ago. So yeah, that's where we're at right now as far as correction goes.
Regina, I see the farm. Talk to me about that. Who does that feed and who works that?
Well, it feed mostly the male inmates. Like the females don't go outside of the jail perimeter. They stay more so around the area, but the males normally do the farm and they work the kitchen and stuff like that. And the food normally feeds inside the jail. So,
because I was talking to there's a guy, Joel Salatin, who, if you ever watch any of those food documentaries, Forks Over Knives, and he's like the farmer with the big floppy hat and the glasses. Yeah. But he was saying that there's two groups that eat kind of like out of date food, processed food. It's our schools and our prisons.
Oh yeah.
So when I think about that, and then I think about that we have a farm here, and that's feeding our inmates, which obviously we know sitting here. When we eat bad food, we feel like shit. When we eat good food, you feel better. I think that's an amazing model, personally.
Yeah, we used to have it in our area, but we don't have the farm as much anymore, to where they actually farm produce and stuff that comes inside the institution. Most of our stuff is outsourced and stuff. But that hasn't changed. Still a lot of food you like, I'm not going to eat that. But unfortunately, it has to be there.
Talk to me, Regina, about the training. So at the front door, well, first, let me rephrase that. Talk to me about the ratio of corrections officers to, incarcerated people. And then, what is the training that you got at the beginning of your career?
The ratio of corrections versus inmates is very overwhelming. You can see it's a very big difference, and the training is, the defensive training that we get, and it's now they're trying to get more advanced in it, but you have some people that has been in correction for so long, it's like, I know I'm not going to be able to do this, but it's like you're going to either have to do it. It's going to put you to a point where you're going to either retire or you're just going to have to do it, because as we try to advance our training, the criminals they get smarter too. Like we're against some very creative people, and it's just like you gotta put your best foot forward, because they study us 24 hours a day. They just have that time to study us, and like, hey, I know who's the fit person. They know who they can get over on, who they can get, they know these things just by, observing us and our behavior when we come in. It's like sometimes you feel like we're outnumbered when we deal with the criminals.
We are.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Well, talk to me about that, because we met in our Iron Legion, and I'll get to kind of the genesis of that in a little bit. But a lot of the people I've had from law enforcement, the ones that do take care of themselves, that do go to the gym, are the ones that usually report the least hands-on incidents because of that deterrent and the way they hold themselves. What do you see as far as that in your roles?
Well, being an instructor for the Law Enforcement Academy and Corrections Academy, the difference has changed drastically from the time when I started. There's a certain standard that they made you stay to just to be able to get through the academy. And they slowly, because of the amount of staff that it's hard to get, they like went away from a lot of that stuff and making it easier and easier and easier, just so they could get through the academy. Because it's a 4-month academy, going through legal to, like you said, defensive tactics, firearms, first aid, all of those different things you have to go through in that 4-month period. And when I went through the academy, if you failed the test, you got fired immediately. Now you get a couple of shots to pass that test just to make it through the academy. But with the dynamics of the inmate population, and one of my dormitories, I have 2 officers in there. It's 180 inmates in that dormitory. So when you double that between 7 dormitories, you could tell what the dynamics is in between. Maybe 1 or 2 people that I actually have that monitor the yards throughout the evening, because I work the night shift a lot. It's the being outnumbered is crazy when you actually think about it. And a lot of people don't really understand what officers go through daily just to walk a compound and make sure they make it home daily. Because there's always something that happens. I get reports every day on my phone of instances happen on institutions where certain officers get attacked or get hit or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people always, well, y'all taking advantage of the inmates, or y'all being nasty to the inmates, or you're doing this to them. And I'm like, you got to understand, we're outnumbered by them. So if they don't have a certain level of understanding of who, what, when, and where, you're going to end up with that issue. And it's not the fact of just being nasty or mean to them, but just like being on the street, there are certain laws that you have to follow. Mm-hmm. You don't follow, you get in trouble. Same thing happen inside the prison. The prison is just a small city within itself that has its own rules and guidelines that you have to follow. If you don't follow them, then there's consequences behind those you not following that. And a lot of people don't understand that or get understanding of that.
Has the ratio always been so dramatic? Like so few corrections officers?
Yeah. Always. Because they only allow us to hire a certain amount. You can't, they're not going to pay that many officers to be there. So you only have a set amount of officers that you can actually hire to work at the institution. That doesn't even come close to how many inmates that are at the institution. Mm-hmm. Because one of our compounds, if I think of all the officers there maybe 200 to 860 inmates. That ratio still don't add up. Yeah. And then on the other compound, I think it's like close to maybe 300 staff between all 3 shifts. Maybe 300 staff, and it's 1,100 inmates that walk that compound. So the ratio is always going to be off, because they will never set it to the point of where you could hire that many people to be on the compound at all times. And if you had that many people, many of us will look at each other like, okay, we got too many people here. We walking over each other. That's how we look at it, because we're so used to dealing with it in that aspect. And a lot of times it's hard for me to explain to them how beneficial it is to have too many people at that time, because you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen. And a lot of people that I work with now has never been in a situation where there has actually been a riot to where inmates totally take over an institution or try to take over an institution. I've been through 2, and they don't understand the dynamics of you never have enough officers when it comes to stuff like that.
It's so short-sighted, because this is the same with our firefighters, and I talk about it all the time. But the 3 shifts and 56 hours, and now mandatory overtime, and now they're working 80 hours, and the people that we need the most, we seem to treat the worst.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or the people that do the most, you treat the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the ones that do the least get handed everything or let go with everything. It hadn't changed, which is crazy.
Talk to me about, if you want to just kind of not be too specific, about the potential riots that you experienced and the dangers that you guys face, because I would imagine, because in England we had a lot of prison riots when I was young, and they were deadly. Like prison officers were killed.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that you could see now with some of the ones that are like coming up now or coming close to coming up now. They're not so much geared towards the officers. It's a lot against one another. Officers can get mixed up in it, or we do have some that officers actually do get really hurt badly, or even killed. But there are any number of reasons of a prison riot could jump off in between just food.
Yeah, food.
Not having enough food at some point, or certain areas feeling like they're not getting the same amount of food another area get. Because, like on one of my compounds, 850 inmates. You start out with one dormitory that get fed of certain things, then they run out. By the last dormitory that get there, they're going to kind of get annoyed with that. Like, why we got to get the leftovers or something y'all done made up that doesn't match to what originally supposed that came out. Female inmates don't key on that as much, but male inmates do. And that's where your problem will come in at. Or certain things that they feel like they're allowed to have between rec time to going to the canteen of the store. That is their store that they could go to. Just little small stuff like that could turn into a major disturbance instantly. But the biggest thing that starts stuff is that child, on how you feed them and how you take care of them, and that could cause the biggest issue.
See, and again, that seems like that's an opportunity to, staff that area better, and that way you've mitigated and listen to the officers.
Yeah, but when you have anywhere to 100 to 200 inmates in that area on any given time, you only have 5 or 6 actually officers in that area dealing with that area. That's a lot to have to deal with at that point. And if something jump off, it could get real bad. We have like things in place to actually deal with it, but by the time we get that in place, people can get really hurt. But yeah, the farthest things that could start riots is, certain stuff that they feel like they're allowed to have or they should have. And then you have, just like with anything, you have some people that just don't do their job properly and be buttholes about their job, and it could cause a big snowball issue with everybody. Yeah.
Regina, when you guys have talked obviously for a long time, what are some of the differences working in the women's prison versus the men's? Obviously you have experience now, Wayne, too, but
yeah, I haven't experienced the men's, but the women's, well, right now I deal with all of them. I deal with men, women, kids, children. So I deal with all of them, but it is a big difference. With the females are more needy. The men, like I said, dealing with the men, even in the jail, it seemed like it's starting to change a little bit. The men are starting to be more needy, and the women are starting to be more dependent. I'm like, okay, so when did this change? Like, at what point did this change? It seemed it did. It's like, what point did this change? Like, come on, I need this to go back. The men starting to be more needy than the females. Like, come on now. But yeah, it's just like the neediness of the females with the, men and the women. The kids, they just gonna be kids. It's really, that hasn't changed. But between the men and the female is like the neediness of the two.
The difference between the two is like night and day.
Night and day.
Night and day. Most of the time when I worked at a male prison, men try to stay out your way. They try to keep you out of their business as much as possible. The best way to keep you out of their business is them to do what they're supposed to do. They're not as open with the stuff that they do. They try to get stuff done. If you tell them to do something, yes, sir, they'll get right on it. Females, no. This a debate, an argument is why I got to do this. Because, one, you have to. And it just goes, it just snowballs from there. But it's a fight every day just to get them to do just the minimal stuff, let alone just their regular everyday stuff. Yeah.
The book I wrote just over a year ago, I wanted to tell not only the story of fire service and the way that we see the community, the way we respond to it, but also generational trauma, that there are these dominoes falling, grandparents, parents, child, And, when you look at a lot of people that seem to end up, in addiction, in prison, etc., you see, arguably it's poverty ultimately, isn't it? Really, it just depends on, what that looks like in your particular city or county. But it's this kind of revolving door, and you see these generational inmates that are all related to each other. When you look now in this kind of long career that you both have, what are some of the common denominators that you keep seeing over and over again? And how do we stop these dominoes from falling and these, the next generation ending up behind bars like their parents?
Well, me personally, because, I'm a little bit older than she is, in which a lot of people are not going to agree with it, is just the dynamics of how family deal with discipline in their household. You could see the dynamics of a lot of the inmate population not really growing up under any structure. Like, you're supposed to do this, you got to follow this. If I say this, you need to do it. And there's no negotiation with it. And a lot of people saw it as being bad or terrible. And I'm never going to do that to my child. And the next thing you know, your child is talking back to you. Your child is telling you what you're going to do. I'm not talking so much like the beatings and all that kind of stuff, because some people kind of took that a little too far. But growing up, knowing if they call my dad, it's finna be a problem. So I better get myself together. Now, I'm not gonna say I wasn't always an angel, but there was times when my dad stepped in and, I had to rethink life quickly. And it made me go to the point of, I'm never gonna get in trouble enough to where I have to deal with him. Or even with my mom. And my mom was a sweetheart of the house. Mm-hmm. But not wanting to disappoint them. And a lot of the dynamics of parents throughout the years now, they're too much of trying to be their kids' best friend than be their parent. Mm-hmm. There's times that you could, you could sit there and laugh and be cool with your child and stuff like that. But sometimes you got to have that distinction of there's an authority and you have to follow it. Because if you don't respect authority, you're not going to respect nobody on the street, and then you're going to keep having these problems. You see the videos every day. They start going off on a police officer just for pulling them over, and they're in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Where do they get that mindset from?
Well, they all want to be internet stars.
It's
clear as day.
Clear as day.
You can see it. It's not even about, there's one that was, it was so good. It was an English kid. I mean, foul mouth. He must have been, 11, 12 on a bike, just cursing out these people at his grocery store, and his dad dragged him back.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. That was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah.
You have this virtual world where people think there's nothing going to happen. Mm-hmm. But you lock them back into the real world and be a good parent, then you can be like, all right, you screwed up. Learn from it.
Now we're finna this.
Get it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now you have so many that, okay, if that kid did this, instead of holding that kid accountable, they go down there. Why you said anything to my child? Mm-hmm. Who are you to say something to my child? So now the child think, oh, I can do what I want to because mom gonna back me up on what I just did, and dad's not gonna hold me accountable for what I just did. So snowball. Because like now at the prison, we have 8 inmates that's under the age of 17, and we have 25 that are under the age of 21. They're in one particular dormitory, but you have people that are that young coming to prison. And then that's not even counting the ones that are in juvenile, DJJ and stuff like that. So, and a lot of them, they just don't have respect for authority at all because they wasn't raised to respect the authority. And I think that's a lot of dynamics that we're having now, and a lot of the issues we having with people that are coming to prison. Because at one point, like she was talking about the female prison, at one point they had started closing female prisons because they didn't think that females should be locked up to the extent that they were.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. At one point we had closed like 2 or 3 female prisons. But when the court cases started coming through, they got to a point where they was like, we made a mistake.
They do as many as heinous crimes as men do.
So it got to a point where they were having to hustle just to build prison, just to have somewhere to put them. That's why we have the second female prison out there in Lowell. We got 2 female prisons compared to 1 male prison. How did that add up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the whole dynamic of things.
Regina, what do you, if you want to add anything as far as like underlying reasons why, that you keep finding these generations behind bars?
I also think it's the parenting. Like you get a big ratio of especially African American that have no father figure in the home. So I feel like that plays a very big role in what we see today. So, and then not only that, you have moms, the mothers are not even being mothers to their kids anymore. And it's like, well, I guess the kid is raising herself. Like now you want to be their friend or their sister. Now that you have a child that's raising themselves because they can't depend on mom, or they have no father and never knew their father. So to me, I feel like the biggest in that is just the parenting system. It's like something has to change. And poverty is a big issue also. But to me, it's just the parenting. Not having that father figure, or most of the time now it's the mother figure. Years and years ago, it was the women always complain, well, I can't depend on the man. And it's like now, since I can't depend on the man, I got a child, the child can't even depend on the mom now because they still trying to find their way. So it's like most of the time you got babies having babies.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is when you hear some people, usually people that have got a comfortable income that are sitting in a nice home. The problem is, it's the homes, they're broken homes. But if you look at the generational trauma of broken homes, they create more broken home. Not always, but if dad is in prison or a mum is an addict, or we're just up sticks and left. I mean, my ex, my son's mother, her sperm donor, basically left it when she was 5 years old and went and started another family across the country. Like, imagine what that does to a child. You know what I mean? So I think this is the thing. It's all well and good for people to say, oh, it's just the families. It's like, but, we got to figure out what's breaking these families in the first place. Prison, addiction, murder. All these things that are destroying, even on the roads. 40,000 Americans die in accidents every year. That's taken a mum or a dad, so I think we need to look at that, because otherwise we will just keep,
I think one of the biggest things in the black community was government assistance. You have, when that started up, we'll assist you with this because you have a child, this, that, and the other. But stipulation is the dad couldn't be there. So when you start separating that household, and then you start giving women certain money, and they don't really have to go to work for it.
They got accustomed to it.
Now they start passing it down to their kids, especially they female, their daughters. Hey, you don't need him. Get that baby, get that check. Kick him on down the road. Mm-hmm. Say whatever you need to about him because this, that, and the other, but whether you was in a relationship with him or whatever the case may be, go ahead and get that check. So it just kept domino affecting the community to the point of you have so many females on government assistance that aren't in relationships or a meaningful relationship at that. But before that whole system came about, the marriage ratio was higher, much higher. But then when they started looking for assistance, needing just help to keep going, to get a little hand up, okay, well, we'll help you, but he can't be in the picture. No matter what the instance is, he can't be in the picture. Or, they get those subsidized houses and stuff like that. And when they come and do inspection, the man, if he's involved, he got to go hide somewhere just so she keep getting her money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think just looking at it, a lot of that stuff is what caused a lot of issues. Like, okay, what I need a man for if the government going to give me the money? You know what I mean? I might get a little money for child support or whatever the case may be, but I'll take that money and don't have to go to work nowhere. So I think that caused a lot of issues in the black family too, because there's nobody looking for a nuclear family. They're just looking for a paycheck as quick as possible.
And we saw that a lot in the fire service. I mean, literally, Escalades on the front driveway and no food in the fridge.
No food in the refrigerator, yeah.
Yes.
You got a BMW sitting out into the house that's falling apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never understood that. That always blew my mind.
And the thing is that, I mean, the benefits, this is sadly what isn't discussed. I mean, they do get a lot of people back on their feet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Becky, she was on food stamps when she was young, and now she's a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that does help, but
you got to be the type. You got to be the type of person of using it as a way of help, not using it as a way of life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you have like a lot of men that they don't have anything but just a little bit of help. Probably gonna help them get in that direction, but they're not allowed to get that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but you have a lot of women that like, okay, why am I gonna do anything better if I got it easy? Now you do have those that get on it for a minute, like you said. They get off of it because they want something better. They want something more than what that crazy life is. Because I think Regina even did it for a quick minute, and then she was like, oh.
Subsidized housing, food stamps, I did it.
There we go.
And I was like, I can't do this no more.
No.
I cannot let the government rule any part of my life. And I was like, I got to have better. I got to have more. And I was like, no, I can't. I cannot continue to live my life like this.
No. But I think it's also like who you've got in your life. Like one of my friends who's a retired gang unit guy, he's like one of the gang members. He was the kind of person that would be friendly in the neighborhood. They trusted him, they admired him. And he said, yeah, I've got, several women pregnant. So, if one gets tired of me, then I just go to the other one's house. So he's playing the game from the other side. But, I think when you hear the success stories, and I had so many in police, fire, military that were very similar childhood to the people that are behind bars, it was always a positive mentor. But the problem is, you grow up in an area that's infested with gangs, or like, where is that person? Your mentor is someone that's telling you to sling dope and, buy a 9. So what do you see as far as, because when I worked in California, the gangs were prevalent. We had gang killings all the time, but here you don't see it as much locally. What about behind bars? I mean, most of us are naive and we've only got movies and television to go by, but do you see that in the Florida prisons as much?
Florida prisons have it. It's not as prevalent as you have in California and Texas and New York and stuff like that. But they do have it. But a lot of the gangs come from your area, where you're from. It's not so much Crip blood, just that and the other. Where you from? Fort Lauderdale. Where you from? Miami. I'm from Duval. Those different type of cliques that you have inside. That's in the male compound. Females,
it's more survival with the males. Yeah. It's more survival.
Yeah, females, they don't even associate with all that stuff. It's just their family groups. Whoever they connect with the most, that's who they hang out with. But other than that, they could probably have been hanging with Bloods at one point inside the prison. They don't even think about consider it. It's just who they could click with the best, whoever they get along with the best. Males, they're more area oriented, what area you from and stuff like that. Now they might have it more in the feds. I can't say from the feds. I never worked in the feds, but with the male population, that's more what their biggest issue is. And then you find it more with the black inmates than with whites or Hispanics and stuff like that. You have some separation in the Hispanic area, but for the most part, for the white inmate, if you're white, you with us.
It's CWB. CWB.
So, and then the blacks, they have like the dynamic of where I'm from, this, that, and the other, and they're more separated as far as gang-wise goes. But you have that a little bit more, yes.
On the racism, excuse me, that's a hard word, the recidivism conversation, I hear, from people within, the law enforcement and the prison side, the availability still of drugs, the violence in there. What is creating that behind bars that maybe isn't happening in some of the more progressive systems, or the ones that maybe have the right manpower.
Well, in my aspect, is the drug situation has gotten a lot worse. Throughout the state. It's not just in one prison. Every prison has an issue with drugs. And the battle to keep it off the compound is ridiculous. Like I say, it's a lot worse than what it used to be. And it's causing a ripple effect of bad stuff happening on the compound, because they constantly dealing drugs. Either they getting high or they almost dying from drugs, because we have to Narcan them weekly now to the point. And just trying to figure out how it's getting on the compound is just that's the biggest issue that I've been dealing with as far as dealing in the profession, just trying to figure out where is it coming from. Because they even get to the point where they get wall spray sprayed on a piece of paper and smoke it and get high from it. That's why we can't even have wall spray on the compound anymore, because they was using that as a form of getting high off of. So the increasing of the drugs on the compound is what really causing us the biggest issues now, because you never know what you're gonna get, because they get that strength that comes from being high, and then you have to deal with that on top of being inside the prison.
What about your perspective, Regina?
Pretty much the same thing, wondering how they get it. But most of ours, how they get it is from, because we do send out inmate workers. They go to the farm, and majority of the time they get the drop from the farms and stuff like that. So, and it comes inside. But, it's not as bad as the prison. I'm sure it is in some aspect. Like, we do catch the ones when they come inside the jail, they'll drop, or they can swallow it, and they get it out their system inside the jail. And so it's like, that part of we are dealing with, dealing with the ones that's swallowing it, bringing it inside. And, the inmates from the farm, they'll bring it from the farm and bring it in the jail, even though they get searched, body scan and everything. Somehow they're still getting it in.
And the worst part about it is their families that are helping them.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that boggles my mind. I'm like, you complain, I'm pretty sure you complain about them being in there, and whatever happens to them, you complain about it, but you want to help them do stuff that that's illegal, to the point of helping them try to sneak in cell phones, drugs. The amount of they have brand new cell phones before most people on the street could get a brand new cell phone, which is crazy. And with them using drones and everything to drop packages on the compound, drones has made it really bad for us now, because you have to deal with drone flyovers all the time now. So they're trying to drop packages on the compound with piles of contraband in there, from cell phones to drugs to alcohol, whatever they could get in there.
I had a former British Special Forces guy on the show, and now that's his world, is drones. And he was talking about the ability to jam, so they don't have that over the prisons.
A lot of prisons are starting to get it, because it's coming so prevalent, but we don't have them over all of them. And they're slowly getting out there, but it's ridiculous, the stuff that they have to go through. And then the amount of stuff that we have to deal with when it's been seen or found that we have to deal with. The amount of searches and stuff that we have to do. Mm-hmm.
I want to do one more prisoner focus, and then we'll go to the guards' well-being. I've heard from a few people addiction programs being cut. I think in Florida specifically, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that, because one answer, obviously, to not using drugs is to be sober in the first place. So it seems, again, if we're talking about recidivism, reducing access to mental health tools or addiction tools.
Well, they do still have addiction programs that are in there. They do have a particular program that they have that focuses on that, the way they try to help them out. But the sad thing is, they are the worst ones in the prison, the ones that are actually in the real program. We have to deal with them more than anybody else on the compound when it comes to drugs. The thing is with them, if they're into drugs, there is nothing you could change their mind about. You try, you talk to them. I talk to plenty of them. Like, I'm not understanding why you keep putting this stuff in your body. Sooner or later, we're not going to be able to bring you back. Mm-hmm. And then I have them tell me point blank to my face, I like it, so I'm going to do it. If I get my hands on it, I'm going to do it. And it is crazy. You could try, unless they really want to make a change themselves. There's no amount of class you're gonna give them that's gonna get them out of it, which is crazy.
Yes,
and which is hard to believe. But you could try to help them, but if they don't want to help themselves, there's nothing you could do about it.
It seems like if there was a lot more purpose during the day, so like the Norwegian model, and they had school and they had work and they were cooking and cleaning and hanging out with the lads or the girls, that loneliness, that emptiness would be less, and maybe you would have people less drawn to that.
It's just the biggest thing of just getting them to want to be a part of something. Because yes, we still have education, we still have something. We do give them like rec, so they could go out and hang out with one another and get a little bit of exercise in. But then you have those that just don't want to do anything. They feel like if you making them do something, it's against their will, then why should I do it? Not realizing it's a benefit to you to give you something, to give you a program in your head, so you have something to fall back on when you get out of here. So you think about, okay, I got to get up in the morning, make my bed, and start my day. Not just lay in the bed all day long. You got to get up and get started on something throughout the day. And they feel like we're just harping on them, but we're trying to give them a structure in their mind of something to do. Wake up, make your bed, start your day. Don't stay in bed all day. You have to make your bed every single day. So if you get that instilled in your head, when you get home, you won't be that person that just lay up in bed all day or don't go do nothing. You got to get up, make your bed, and start your day. Go find something to do. Find a job or something to do, not just lay around the house all day.
Absolutely. Well, Regina, one of the kind of observations that I had a long time ago now, not from experience, of course, was we think about the incarcerated people being in prison, but you guys are in prison. So talk to me about the impact of that, because I would imagine, excuse again if I'm naive, there's a big old storm out the back, that if they are not seeing daylight very much, then I'm sure a lot of the COs aren't seeing daylight very much, and you've got these long shifts, and like you said, the ratio I'm sure adds stress. So, talk to me about the environment that you guys work in and the impact on your physical and mental health.
It can affect us very, very much. Like a lot of people that I work with, I try to tell them, find something to do, get out. What we normally do is work out. I love working out. It keeps the mind right, and it has kept us for a very long time from having to take mental psych meds. It's very high in corrections where you have people that's taking psych medication in our field. And a lot of people ask me, well, what do you do to, when you want to have fun? I work out. I love working out. It keeps me mentally. It keeps me focused. Me and my husband. It's like that's something we love doing. We don't have to drink alcohol. We don't smoke. We don't drink alcohol. So the way we have fun, or what we love doing is just we focus on working out, getting stronger. So we can come home every day, working in the field that we work in, corrections. We deal with criminals on a daily basis. A lot of people, it's not an easy job. It's a mental strain on us and physical. So we focus on just working out.
The same thing, because in corrections, the statistic is 5 years after you retire, you're gone.
Same as the first responders.
And so, and I can see it because a lot of time you have so much idle time that you're just sitting. You do paperwork and you're just sitting in a chair most of the time. And then you have those that, a lot of people, when you get bored, they eat. They snack on this. They always looking at. I have the problem not being a supervisor because I sit at a desk a lot. I have to push my bag away because a lot of times I'm doing, and I'm just like, okay, what I got in my bag? Okay, how much on that for a few minutes? The next thing you know, put on another 50 pounds because you're just sitting there eating all day and sitting behind a desk the entire time. So going to the gym a lot of times helped me get a lot of those stressors out. And make sure I keep my body at least moving and up, so that hopefully when I leave, I'm not going 5 years after that. And I tell I tell a lot of my staff that daily. They have to deal with me daily, and I have a lot of them that come and talk to me, and I'm like, and a lot of them, well, I don't have time. I say, you make time for what you want to make time for, because if you could sit down and watch a 1 hour movie on TV, those are 2 minutes in between each one of those commercials that you could get up and do something. So that's an excuse that you make to tell yourself that doesn't work on me. I just let them know that, because you need to do something. Even when I'm teaching academies, I tell them, I'm like, you have a lot of idle time. You got to find something outside of work to help you keep going. Not just that paycheck. You got to have something outside of work to keep you going, because most people have kids and stuff like that. Can't keep up with kids when you can't freaking breathe.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's been like the biggest thing for me, because I had issues in the beginning of my career where I put on like 60 pounds. I went from like 185 to almost 240, 250 pounds at one point. And I went to bend over to tie my shoes and couldn't breathe. I almost choked myself out just trying to tie my shoe. So I figured I need to get back to doing something. And getting back to working out, and that's when she and I started working out a little bit more together, because at one point I was leaving her home when I went to the gym, but I couldn't work out because she would call me the whole time while I'm out in the gym. So I couldn't get no sets in, so to the point of I might as well just bring her with me and get it done that way.
How did you guys meet?
At the prison.
At work.
All right, so romantic. It was so 7.
Yeah, we met each other at the prison. I seen her walking down the center walk, and she was with another lady, and we spoke and stuff like that, and I always kind of joked around a lot of time at that time too, and we just started talking back and forth from there. Yeah.
Very cool. Talk to me about Iron Legion then, because that's where we all met, but you were like more OG than I was. So because that was when CrossFit was relatively unknown too. So what were you doing prior to that, and kind of walk me through your journey with the gym?
Well, we started out as Hammer's House of Fitness. It was.
Yes.
James Hammertree.
Yeah, Hammertree.
Yeah.
He had a tree. Yeah, he had a gym, and we saw it one time, drove past it, went in, and we kind of looked around, and they tried to get us to get started, and we didn't do it. And exactly a year later, we went back by there. I said, we said we're going to try it out, so let's go try it out. So when we went there, they didn't call themselves CrossFit because they wasn't affiliated. So he called it HammerFit. And we started working out there, and the first couple of weeks we were like, what are we doing?
What's
What is wrong with us? And some workouts, doing the rest of it, we be sitting there, and I'd be looking at her, and I'd be like, if she get up and leave, I'm going with her, because this is killing me right now. But we didn't realize how much stronger that made us. And we kept coming back. It's just nonstop. It just got addicting. And then Hammers, he was closing down because he was moving somewhere else, and he got with Ted to kind of take over. And at one point, Ted was going to keep the gym, and then I think he kind of figured out that was going to be just too much to deal with. So he ended up closing down, and just brought all of us with him. And that was when they was at the old warehouse area that they was at. Mm-hmm. So we started going there, and we've been there ever since. Now, our biggest thing is we was trying to get in shape before we got married. We were trying to get ourselves. We had already did stuff. We had did the P90Xs, the Insanities, and all that kind of stuff. We did those over and over again. And my wife is one of those type of people. She gets bored very easily. So after a while of learning the tapes and knew what was going to happen on the tape, she had kind of got away from not really wanting to do it anymore. So when we started doing CrossFit, it helped us out because it was something different every day. So she couldn't get comfortable. We couldn't get comfortable. And it was something that gave us a goal every single day. And it went from our goal of trying to lose weight to being able to back squat a certain amount, to being able to deadlift a certain amount, be able to clean a certain amount. It got away from that aesthetic stuff to the ability stuff. And I think that's the biggest thing that kept us in it at that time. Yeah.
Yes.
Please carry on.
Being able to protect myself and my partner when we're at work. That was my main goal. I was like, we work out. That's the reason why I love working out. Is like being able to have that strength to be able to help a male partner or a female partner, in a situation with dealing with inmates. We deal with all kinds. And there's plenty of times where I've been in a use of force and I've helped more male inmates with, male partners with male inmates than I have with female. And a lot of people like, Regina, you're very strong. Yes, that's the reason why I go to work out. Just to be able to, hey, you going home, we both are going home. Just to have the strength that sometimes my male partners may not have. To be a female and to be able to save a male partner, in a use of force is, I look at it as it's A plus. I'm like, good job. Just to be able to, save a partner.
I think CrossFit, if we're going to thank them for one thing, it's redefining what a air quotes woman can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, there are several women in our gym that can whoop our asses.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Regina can out squat me and all that stuff. So, but it's true, like every different area that they're,
And that was the thing that got me. It was like when we first started working out there and I'm trying to move this weight and I can't move it. And I know I'm stronger than this. And I got Renee and Lindy over there on the other side of it. Well, with Lindy at the time. Lindy, she lifting more weights than me.
She's what, like 110
pounds. And she's
Yes.
overhead squatting more than I was, and it was pissing me off. I was like, what is going on? And so it made me define what I needed to do and to work on myself.
Absolutely. Well, shifting to where we are today, the fire service has an immense recruitment problem at the moment, and it's fixable. Like, we know what is wrong. It's just the problem is convincing the people who, the bean counters, that rather than spending all the money downstream, if you put the money up front, you won't waste all that money in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What are you seeing as far as recruitment and retention in corrections in general?
Want to talk about Jerry first? Or?
You got it.
Well, in my area, that's been like a major push in the last at least 2 to 3 years. With the new secretary that we have that's over the Department of Corrections, he has really been pushing up, getting more raises for the department, because for almost 12 years, we never received a raise.
For 12 years?
Yes, for 12 years, we never received a raise. So you can't keep staff that way. People are not going to stay, especially when you have the county that has a raise just about every other year or whatever. You're not going to keep staff that way. So he has really pushed to try to get us more raises. In the last 3 years, we've received more raises in the last 3 years, and like I said, in the last 12 years. And then the latest one that he's pushed for has put us where we should be. It could be better, but it is where we should have been years ago. If you're going to compete against Marion County, Lottery County, Dade County, all these different counties that's paying substantially more, me as a captain, she's making the same amount as a sergeant. So that's like, how you gonna make the distinction between the two? Mm-hmm. If you could go to the county and make the same amount of money at a little bit lower rank, just because of your years, you can make that kind of money. So with the raise that they're implementing this year, should fix a lot of that. And that's been his biggest thing, to hold retention. And it has helped a lot, because the amount of officers that we've been getting in lately has been like crazy. We still lose a lot because corrections is not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Not everybody could do that job. But we've kept a lot more staff. We've gotten our percentage down to like, I think it was like 3% at one point.
I was just 3% too.
Yeah, 3%. Vacancy rate. Mm-hmm. So, which is amazing. We came from like 20%. Mm-hmm. Now, we do still have some institutions that are still dealing with high unemployment, but we thinking with this next raise and actually having the governor on board with giving us the money that we need to have so we can keep people has been a plus. Ron DeSantis has helped us out so much it don't make no sense. So That's been the biggest thing. That's been his biggest push, far as getting employees and keeping employees. And that's one of his main goals for a supervisor. It's not just the money that keeps the people; it's the people that keeps the people. Mm-hmm. And if you're gonna keep people, you have to make them feel like they're a part of something, mm-hmm. and you have to back them up on that, and not just treat them like, oh, you here, sit over there for a little while. We'll get with you in a minute. Treat them like people and talk to them like people, so people could stay. And that's been one of his. If he hears anything about a staff member treating a new staff member the wrong way, he'll fire him on the spot, because he don't feel like he needs somebody. And we don't need people like that. And we try to teach everybody, treat them like family. I tell my staff all the time, it's not me that keeps these people here, because they don't work directly with me. They work directly with you all. So if y'all not treating them the right way for them to stay, y'all start worrying about your overtime, because you're going to get overtime eventually. But everybody wants to go home at some point. And we work 5 days a week. We don't have 12-hour shifts and stuff. We work 5 days a week. So having to work extra hours throughout a 5-day period can be really hard. Mm-hmm. So if you have the right staffing, you can go home every day and still have the pay that you think you should have. So that's the biggest thing that we've been working on with in our area.
This is the thing as well, when you're understaffed, the overtime might seem attractive, but you got to take a step back and say, well, what am I losing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not, physically not being there. And then when you are home, you're so tired that
you can't even spend time with family.
Yeah. And then we're back to this conversation of not being a present parent and, wondering why your kid's struggling. So,
and wonder why stuff is slipping through at your job, because you're so tired that, you don't work all these hours for this overtime, but still you're not present job wise. You got the cloud head because you're so tired. So
exactly.
It doesn't work out very well. The money is good, but it doesn't help out in the long run.
No. And this is what we're seeing in the fire service. Like, there's a lot of overtime because they're so understaffed. Mm-hmm. I just was told the other day that in 5 years, Marion County Fire has lost 500 people.
Wow.
I think that's pretty much the size of the whole department. Mm-hmm. That's how many people are just cycling through. So you think the dollar amount, you think of all the holes that people are having to fill. Mm-hmm. But the ultimate currency is time with your family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's what's going to keep people with you. Mm-hmm. If they go and they feel well rested and they're all in, mm-hmm. when they're at work, and then they get to go home when they're supposed to go home. And like you said, they get paid properly. Mm-hmm. And it's a good working environment. That's it.
Yeah.
But this whole, we'll just pay them more money on its own. Yeah. That's not, or the same as lowering fitness standards. We'll lower standards, that'll work. Yeah, you'll get 18 in a heartbeat, but watch the lawsuits come through when the wrong person gets hired.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're seeing that now.
We're seeing that now.
Yeah. Nerve there.
But I had one of my staff members the other day that he does a lot of overtime, and then when he see the pay raise that's getting ready to come up, he was like, okay, I could go ahead and promote now because I'm getting paid the amount of money that I was doing all my overtime for. Now I'm getting paid the amount that I was getting my overtime for. Why I need to keep doing all the overtime? I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So it's helping out a lot, because we just had interviews for a lieutenant last week, and normally for our interviews you have maybe like 3 or 4 people showed up. This time it was 13.
Oh wow.
That showed up to go to lieutenant, just because the amount of money that the lieutenant is going to make when that pay raise come into effect. A lot of people wasn't promoting up because they're like, okay, I can make the money of a lieutenant staying as a sergeant just working overtime.
Yeah.
And now they don't have to work the overtime. Ooh, that's the one I'm getting bad.
That was close. Well, I want to be mindful of your time. I want to get you to the gym. So one more question for you both, and we'll round it off. If you start with you, Regina, if you were queen for a day, whether it was the employment side and the correctional officer side, or whether it was incentives to help, the incarcerated people, you were queen for a day, what changes would you make to make the overall system better?
That's kind of, it's kind of hard to answer, because it's a lot more than, a day of change. It's something that would take years to change. First I would start with just family, because family makes a difference in all things. That close, that just having that relationship with someone who cares for you, you care for, it changes a lot. And a lot of people don't have that.
Absolutely. And that is a change. I mean, that's a change, if we can get the narrative to switch from nasty to community again, I think that would be game changing on so many levels. So what about you, Wayne? King for a day.
Oh, my thing would be the first thing would put us back on 12-hour shifts.
What are you? So you're on 8s at the moment?
We're on 8s.
Okay.
We're 8.5.
8.5.
Actually.
Okay.
I will put us back on 12-hour shifts because that'll be less amount of days going to work and less amount of hours having to work, actually. And so when we were on 12s, I felt like I had more time. I felt like I had more time to spend with family. Felt like I had more time to do stuff around the house. Now on the 5-day, 8.5 hour days, it's like I don't even feel like doing anything because I know I got to get right back up in the next couple hours and go back again, and I don't have that break in between. So that would be my first thing because I hope my secretary don't hear this right now because he said he didn't want to hear about it no more. But the conversation that 90% of the staff have right now is they wish we back on 12-hour shifts.
And you're on nights?
I'm on nights.
Yeah.
So I go in at 11 and don't leave till like 9 o'clock in the morning. But we felt like we had more of a family atmosphere work-wise because you knew who all was going to be there every day. And it wasn't no constant alternating because everybody have different days off. On 12-hour shifts, everybody worked the same shift. So everybody, if we wanted to do something together, we could all do it at the same time because we had the same days off. And that opportunity is like hard to do now because everybody have different days off and trying to set up doing stuff with one another. But like I said, I've just felt like I had more time home, just not at work all the time. And I had more time to get my work done and not have to try to rush to get it done. And which I could stay late, but I don't want to stay late.
No,
I don't want to stay later than I have to. So yeah, that would be my first thing. That'd probably be my first and only thing.
Well, there's science behind it though. And this is what's interesting, if you look at the progressive corporate world, so Google and these big companies in Iceland, in the UK, and some other places, they've tested the 4-day work week, so 4 8-hour days.
Yeah,
people were just as productive. They were innovative because obviously it's different, like being physically in a jail. But if they're a project manager, whatever it is, like, okay, well, how can I get this done, quicker? They're being more efficient as well. And so it was a huge success. And now you've got a workforce that goes home for a 3-day weekend with their family. They come back, they're rested, they're ready to go.
Regenerated, yep.
So it's a 32-hour work week. To me, the people who are in these extremely important positions that are really, protecting lives, and they're working at night especially, I don't understand why, we can't give more rest and recovery. So you do a 12 or a fire 24, and then, in the fire service, and this is happening in Florida now, 72-hour period. And then again, and people always say, well, what about 12? It's like, well, obviously you can't do corrections for 24 straight, but the answer is more rest and recovery in between. Well, if you did a 12-hour shift, then you'd, again, compact that time and then be able to give people more time off. And as you said, that brain fog's gone. The likelihood of, making a mistake and getting hurt or getting someone else hurt goes down as well.
Yes.
So it's so crazy that, police, fire, EMS, corrections work these long hours, especially in the ones that are understaffed. But yet, if we're really talking about looking at the best models, in the business world, they're realizing that a shorter work week is very, efficient and healthy. Yeah. So to me, 12s with more rest and recovery between would absolutely be better than 8s.
Much better. It felt a lot better because like now I get 2 days off for it. Technically, I only get 1 day off between my two shifts. So it's hard to even enjoy my time because I'm either having to give up sleep just to spend time or sleep the whole time and don't spend time at all. Especially like spending time with her. Like when I get off Saturday morning, if she's off, I either have to stay up the rest of the day just so I can spend time with her, or sleep half the day and then spend time with her, and then the next day be able to spend some time with her, and then she's getting ready for her next day at work. So it's like that would be I would think that would benefit our department greatly.
But it would save the money. I mean, this is what's crazy. I was literally talking to someone today about this is my dad, about science and data. I said, no one has ever studied at least in the fire service, our longevity, how long do we live? But police, fire, EMS, corrections, we all have the same exact, it's 5 years.
Yep.
So studies or not, we're all seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's the medical retirements, there's workman's comp, all those would go down if you had a healthier, happier workforce. So the science is there. If they want to actually save money with sick time usage and injuries and all the things, the work week that we're talking about would actually save the money hand over fist.
Hand over fist,
So-
easily.
So yeah,
Easily. Yep.
let's hope the right people listen to this.
Yep.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. It's been such an amazing conversation. If people did want to reach out, follow on social media, I know it's a bit weird because you're in corrections. Are there any areas that you want to talk about, or?
Me on Instagram would be Blacksmith. Yeah, Blacksmith 72. I think if I'm
Click on yours.
No, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Regina anywhere or no? No.
We use
she's
Wayne.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both so much. It's been an amazing conversation, really powerful insight. Like, we've known each other for over a decade. And this is probably the most
been
we've
that
talked,
long.
actually. So I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and coming on the Behind the Shield podcast today.
Thank you for having
thank you.
us.